Hi guys, welcome to Garden on a Hill, where we talk about easy home gardening. My name is Vin, and if you are like me and you like to garden on the side and be successful at it, this is where I share my simple ways how I did it. If you like seeing my videos, make sure you hit that subscribe button and you hit that bell button so anytime I upload something new, you get notified. Hey guys, the day's about to end and I want to give you a quick tour of what's been happening here in June. So we'll start with the front yard ornamental gardens and the front yard vegetable garden, and then go to the side yard and then the backyard vegetable garden. So let's go ahead and start here at the front. You can see many flowers coming. If you are wanting some annual colors, these crazy tunia terracottas are very pretty. They're currently blooming really fast. And we have the society garlics that are just really good pollinator plants that are also perennials. Right now they're showing off. Those are edible, leaves and flowers. I did try them the other day. There's some things here that haven't bloomed yet, but as you can see, most of the crazy tunias have bloomed. Other highlights here in this portion, the gladiolas are up. The knockout roses here, the way the red flowers are starting to lose some flowers, but then new buds are coming up. This typically blooms throughout the summer here. Oh, and at the very back I have those 14-foot tall Russian mammoth sunflowers, and they are about 3 foot tall now, so they're catching up. And then here at the very front, nothing really blooming yet, but there are going to be a lot of blooms. I did buy this new buddleia, or butterfly bush, and as you can see, it's very pretty. It has very purple flowers and then very bright green foliage. So looking forward to that. Other than that, there's other things here, but they're not blooming yet. There are gay feathers or aleatris, and then these autumn joy sedums right here are about to bloom with the Kalahari dianthus. So there's going to be a lot of annuals coming up. There are marigolds, cosmos, zinnias, all my what do you call these? All my sunchokes or Jerusalem artichokes are also coming up. So there will be a lot of flowers here soon. So here we are at the front yard vegetable garden with some ornamentals on it. Let's see what's currently blooming. We have nasturtiums, which are edible flowers for your salad. Beautiful flowers coming up right there. I have new knockout roses here in the front. We have harvested several amaranths from this amaranth plant. I have a moringa tree growing behind the blue salvias, and then I have a pepper plant right here. The baptisia now has spent flowers, but look at my corn, guys. I have 3 varieties of corn here. Early Sun Glow, which is the earliest that's making corn now. Look at that. My neighbors were asking me if I had corn the other day in the front yard, and I said, yes, I do have some corn in whiskey barrels. So that one's basically leading the pack. Those 2 are catching up. So this one is Silver Queen, and then the other one is Heirloom Daumen. It's like a German variety corn. Most of the ornamentals are flowering, and I have 2 rows of corn in here that have sprouted. So yes, I will have corn in my front yard. This just started about 2 months ago. On this side, I have my raised beds that are going to be the permanent portion of my front yard garden. As you can see, it is a mess. And it's a work in progress, but things are getting along. Right now, I just harvested all my potatoes in this bag. not so bad, you know. I grew this all in the front yard. So I grew them right next to the kale and celery patch, which if you want to grow kale in the hot 90s of the southern summer, you can, as long as they are in the shade. I do have some celery here. They're also in the shade. One is dying because that one gets too much heat. But this is where I harvested my potatoes. Okay, so that's pretty much it. Here, I do have some Brussels sprouts, and I don't think they're gonna make it. We'll give them a chance, but I don't think so. Last time I harvested some broccoli here, and I haven't harvested this one yet. I have to harvest it because it's really hot now. This one I have harvested, and it's now forming little florets. So if you have broccoli and you harvested your main broccoli, you can have that cut, and then it'll form little side broccolis for you. Anyway, this is a mess. It's still a work in progress. This bed I haven't filled up as well. I just put some soil and containers here. Neighbors don't see my mess right now because it's in the bed, but just showing you how it looks like. These are different beans, okras, cucumbers, cantaloupes that I planted along these T-posts. And this is just temporary. I'm gonna make a prettier trellis here. I just wanted to see if I can grow things, and I sure can. There's cantaloupes, mung beans, okras, Egyptian spinach, watermelons, wing beans, mung beans. There is a lot. So anyway, that's how it's looking like. And here we have a patty pan squash on a pot that's growing pretty big now. And then those two other beds that I previously had the cold frames on, I removed the tarp, stringed it up. This is where I have my zucchinis and beans. So you can see I have about 3 zucchini plants, and they're currently having fruit. All the 3 are. I think I have 4 or 5 in this area. And then the beans are starting to trellis up. That's how it's looking like. Front yard update. So if you remember my past videos, this is where I had my cabbages. It's now becoming an okra bed. So some of the okras are coming up. Here I have several heirloom varieties. Okinawa pink, I think, is this one, but I have several. And of course these edible flower calendulas. Beautiful. First time growing this. Definitely not the last. So these are edible flowers. But that's kind of how it starts. Again, very messy. Everywhere you can see things in progress. Alright, it's been 90 degrees for the past 2 weeks now, and this is how a clover lawn looks like during this time in the summer. Still pretty thick. There are some areas that have thinned out because the rye is dying, but the clover is pretty healthy. This is the 3rd year now. Alright, so let's walk to the backyard garden and just see what updates I have for you there. Okay, so this is my main garden, and as you know, the reason why I started that front yard garden is because this back garden doesn't really get full sun as far as more than 6 hours. This only gets about 6 hours at max, and this is our main garden, but it does produce a lot. Let's just show you some things that are currently highlighting. Let me start from the top. Okay. Alright, so I'm at the very top of the hill of the property, and this is how it looks like currently. That is the garlic bed that has been harvested. To the left of it, I've started a new tomato bed. These are determinate tomatoes, Rutgers, and Better Boy tomatoes. So I use kind of these weave system where you weave string in between poles to serve as a trellis for them. determinate tomatoes is a fancy word for basically bush tomatoes. They will reach a certain height, about 3 to 4 feet, and they will bear all their tomatoes, and you'll get them all at once. I'll show you some indeterminate kinds later on. But basically the logic for this bed, I put this new plastic mulch in here. I have beans under all my tomatoes, and the logic is, I notice especially here that when the beans get to summer, they don't do so well because of the heat. So I'm hoping the tomatoes will shield them. And then also when I harvest the beans and then the beans die, that the beans will fertilize the tomatoes. So I have about 1 whole row dedicated and 2 smaller tomatoes in here on the same setup. At the very end of this bed, I do have I think this is a table squash, table queen acorn, or a butternut squash. Oh, look at this. So squash bugs or Mexican bean beetles, they will start during this time. So take them and stomp them with your feet because they're not good for your garden. Anyway, other things here that are doing well, of course, the eggplants. Our Nagasaki eggplants here on the very first 2 rows here and here are doing well. Those are 10 other varieties of eggplants of different kinds. Doing pretty well too. They have been pruned and they're doing healthy. They're starting to flower and giving us some fruit hopefully soon. Alright, now these 2 beds are pretty much identical. At the very middle, they have a Korean sweet potato. We are growing that both for the sweet potato itself, and we also eat the leaves, which our rule is anything that comes out of the frame, we take this top and then you basically steam it like an asparagus shoot. So we do that, and then of course you have your Asian bitter melons coming up the trellis. Both of these beds are pretty much the same, except for one of the beds have marigold. I try to interplant flowering plants in my beds, and then one of them have amaranths. So you can see these are amaranths around, but pretty much the same setup. You can see it's been very hot, so the peas are now dying. They're yellowing out. We're not harvesting all the peas now because we want it to have seeds for the next season, and we'll harvest that as the pea pods dry. These are all my indeterminate tomatoes. Look, these are tie-dye Berkeley tomatoes. Indeterminate, again, is a fancy word for vining tomatoes. It means they can grow really tall, and they're pretty much like a vine. They don't have a determined size. They grow very tall, and then you just keep on pruning them. So you train them all the way to the top as a vine, as a vining tomato, as opposed to the ones in the ground earlier. So these are my indeterminate tomatoes. So hopefully once the peas die, they'll get more sun and they'll start to ripen up. Nothing really major here. There are some Market More 76 cucumbers. I did add some last minute cherry tomatoes here. They're called Sweet Million tomatoes, so we're hoping to get some from that. The scarlet runner beans are starting to come up. Here I actually have one there that has a lot of beans already. And these are different kinds of peppers, Italian and Asian varieties that we'll talk about in another video, but they are, starting to flower, and hopefully we'll give some fruit soon. Okay. That is it here. The chayotes are coming back up. These are perennials. It's in the same family as squash. If you have not had a chayote before, it basically tastes like a potato and a zucchini. And you can eat both the leaves, which is the, top leaf, what we call in Asian culture, it's called potato tops, which are these, like, the last 6 inches sprigs, and we use it for both. The fruits, they come in the fall, and then the leaves, And how can I forget that we have Swiss chards that are amazing. They just are. We've been harvesting this so much, but they are just so healthy. So healthy in the 90-degree weathers that we're having. Anyway, doing very well. And then we have a Malabar spinach coming up here. I still have to plant a lot in these holes. I've just been taking my time because I've been battling pill bugs this year really badly, so we'll see how that goes. But anyway, that's kind of the progress here. These are the scarlet runner bean flowers, as you can see. So things are doing pretty well. I mean, this was just an experiment if I can grow scarlet runner beans. Obviously, they're starting to have some beans, so we'll plant more of that. So before I end, I did forget it is gardenia season, so there are so many gardenias in my garden. Smells so good. If you have not had gardenia before, I suggest you go get some, plant it under your deck, so anytime they bloom, it smells good. Let's actually go to the front, and I'll show you my other gardenias. Oh, and this is a good time to show you, this is the area that I have not planted anything clover nor grass. This is how it is before I planted grass and clover in my yard. Weeds, and a lot of weeds, and bold spots. Alright, this is where I started to plant clover and rye. You'll start to see it right here. As you can see, this is still a work in progress area. Still cleaning up here. I don't know yet what to do. I used to have, oh, this one, there's a bush rose here. I used to have roses here, but I'm redoing this whole area. Anyway, this is how the clover is looking here at the front. Actually, it's transitioning right now where the rye is dying and browning out and the clover is coming up. Pretty. Alright, anyway, before I let you go, quickly show you what's happening here on the side garden close to the road. All our beautiful yarrows are blooming. These are very, very dry hardy plants. We have beautiful purple elephant garlics. Beautiful contrast with the yarrow right there. And I will end it with this giant gardenia bush that I can smell from miles away. Okay, so that's what's been happening here in our garden, and I'll hopefully do individual garden tours later on of some of the other things that we have. But that's it for now, and thank you for watching. See you on my next episode.